And we are back down the home stretch of CrossTalk episode 3. We had a great guest on the show, Al Raz, our GDFL correspondent. He was able to break it down, spit a little truth on the Louisville Piranhas. So we're going to come back. We're going to stay on the topic of the semi-pro. James has a little top 12, it looks like, rankings of the Kentucky-Anna area. Looking at the list, just a little heads up, we're going to focus mainly on the Kentucky area semi-pro and pretty much everything south of Indy. So if we miss anybody out, we probably really don't care. I mean, if you didn't make this list,
we don't really worry about you.
Right. I mean,
if we didn't make this list, I didn't know you existed.
Right, and then I probably did, but wish I didn't.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna start with 12. What you got, James? Now before you all start talking on here, this is James' list. I'm going to tell him what I think, but still at the end of the day, his list. Who you got? Who's 12?
12, Northern Kentucky Colts.
I have nothing to say on that. 0-10 this season. 0-8. I hear they're playing 8 games. Why you got them 12? You got to give us something.
Just,
Trash.
Yes.
Have you seen their uniforms though?
Yeah, they kind of look like a
Little League?
a nice little flag football uniform or something like that.
I feel like you're putting that real nicely. No, not at all. They look like the best Little League team I've ever seen. Move on with your list, I guess.
11, I got the Kings Cavs. Just, they're a step in front of the Colts, and it's probably just because they run their mouth more.
So the Kings Cavs, I feel like that's what happens when you mix anchovies and cabbage. Two things that people really didn't want to begin with.
And now they're together, so you're like, cool, we'll just leave them over here.
So why you got them 11? Just because they talk a little bit better smack? You think they're going to?
I just don't think there's anybody above them that they can beat. Honestly,
I think it
depends. They played the
depends.
Saints and they lost.
They did.
70 players and 70 uniforms.
That was classic. It looked like a Shopley Sporting Good.
They didn't. They are. I think they're any team above them that they've played. I don't think they've beat them.
Do you think they get anybody from the Piranhas? Anybody worth anything?
Man, I don't know. I don't think so. I think they'll pick up a couple, but no big name, no big factors exactly. Then above them, I got the.
Which, by the way, let's go back on this because I'm going to throw a little jersey hype in here. So, did you see their jerseys on the website?
Yeah, it's about time.
They're nice. No, I'm not going to go into about time. I see this every year. Well, they get a sample.
You know what? I do see that every year. They'll have a couple, and then when they get to the game, they got spray painted numbers.
And the MLFA
Hanover practice jerseys, or
right.
Army National Guard jerseys.
In the MLFA, they had they advertised 3 jerseys. They came out with 1.
And was it theirs?
It was theirs,
the National Guard,
but it was that gray.
Mostly.
They gave that to the Cutters. Remember?
Yeah.
All right, what you got next?
Next, I have the Tri-State Saints.
Right,
don't know much about them. They barely, they pulled it off against the Cavs, and not knowing really too much about them. They look like they have some potential to grow and be a better program, in the future. But right now, I think they still got a long way to go.
I'll give it to them. They look good out there in some uniforms. I mean, it was on point. If that gives anything, they've been trying to recruit. I see them on all the pages. I just don't think anybody's making that drive.
And then
for a team they don't know.
Yeah. Next, I got the Kentucky Colonels, formerly known as the Kentucky Trojans. Not really sure. I mean, I keep seeing they're picking up players. They're adding this person, that person. All stuff really comes together once teams are two or three games in, and you actually start seeing who they're playing with and who's on whose team. Because it's still right now, people still switch it up. You go to practice and have a bad practice, you switch teams.
So a little dirt on why they changed names. Apparently, because and it's smart if you think about it. They were able to get jerseys for free from a local high school. And of course, the jerseys have Colonels plastered across the front, so you really don't. It was a smart move once you get that item to make that move. My thing is, and this is where I think we could flip the Cavs maybe, if the Bucks, if the old Bucks, if the heart of the Bucks, because they know Jared Bennett played for us. A lot of other guys from that area made some games. The running back Nate, he played a couple games. If they're willing to make that drive, I think that leaves the Cavs very scarce, and the Colonels are going to be the tougher team.
Yeah. And then I got the TriCounty. Is it TriCounty Titans? I believe
Tri-State
Titans. I hear they're much of the Evansville Rangers, and there's maybe a few Spartans that play with them now. So I got Titans at 8, Kentucky Patriots at 7.
Now this is where I say he's off his rocker because I don't know if they play summer ball.
I really just put all the teams from the area.
I mean, they are a solid team.
They are.
They're like the Cavs 2.0. They've not really won anything, but they just kind of there.
This is just the teams that are in this area. Period. If they were all to play, if they were all to play in the same league.
Okay, I can get behind that.
And at 6, I got Bloomington, or I guess they're the Indiana Cutters now. They've always been they're hard nosed. They're a defensive team. They're very respectable. A great ran organization up there in Bloomington.
Now,
next,
I liked when they wore the IU jerseys.
Yes,
they got away from them. They went tacky. They looked like a creative team.
IU jerseys.
Bring back the IU. It was great. It was simple. They practiced at IU. Bring them back.
And at 5, going into the top 5, I got the Lexington Red Dragons sitting at 5. Just based off what I've seen from as far as their practices and such like that, it's they're a highly competitive team, and I think they're better than a lot of the teams in Kentucky and Indiana.
Now, what I will say about the Red Dragons, a lot of the guys from the Trojans last year, a lot of the guys that you didn't recognize, a lot of the guys that played at maybe colleges, military, I've heard they went to the Red Dragons, and I've also seen that they have a quarterback that played at EKU. Oddly enough, the Colonels. I can't emphasize enough what a good quarterback does for a team, and if he is legitimate, a true college quarterback, I think that could speak volumes.
Yes. Going into number 4, the Marion County Crusaders, always a strong team. They score points. They got probably more linemen than 2 or 3 of these teams put together. Nice home field.
Now, I would argue with you on this a little bit, but I heard here recently that Lamont Osborne, one of their top players that they would have had from the Braves, number 8, he's actually staying with the Columbus Fire, I hear. So that's a big loss. So I would prefer to see them more at 3, but I'm all right with them at 4.
Now, at 3, the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are sitting at 3 because I just believe they're going to pick up. They possibly, by the time halfway through the season, be at number 2.
So
if they pick up all the players from the Piranhas, or most of them, like I think they will, or I'm anticipating they will. It's if you don't want to drive an hour or 2 hours away, it's just a logical choice here to play for the Hurricanes.
Does the field that they use hurt them in recruiting?
I think it does a little bit, but not too much.
Maybe the new guys.
I mean, there's a field right over here that's available now. I don't know if they want to reach out and see if they can reserve that field.
I think it's a whopping. I think it's $75 an hour, 25 with lights.
Yeah. I think that, and it's turf, locker rooms, concessions.
That's an extra 50.
I mean, if they're going to do it right.
So I think, and I'm going to take a little bit of time on the Canes because I know a lot of those guys in this area. I think if they can build that line, if they can get a Mike Marshall at quarterback with a Brandon Corker rotation there, you can get some solid receivers. Wilson. I think you got the Britton brothers, Quick and Jizzle.
And he's a great running back.
If you have both those, they should have, I think, Dex. And then the defense, solid front line from the Piranha, basically the Piranha's front 4 with their linebackers in the Piranha secondary. I mean, I can see it.
Yep. And at 2, I got the Western. I guess they're the Western Kentucky Spartans now.
So I've heard different things about that. For like legal purposes, I think they're Western Kentucky Spartans, but I think for the fun and games, they're the Kentucky Spartans, not to be confused with any other Kentucky Spartans.
Is there another one?
No, there's not.
Okay.
Now, one thing I find interesting here is, yes, I know defense wins championships, but in semi-pro, I think even more valuable than a defense is a strong, legitimate, actual quarterback. Evan Harvey for the Spartans
is a good quarterback.
And that can truly, if you can carve up, because historically in the times we've played the Canes, what they like to do is they like to just come at you. They like to say, I don't think you got the line to stop us.
They'll run the ball and throw screens.
So if they play someone like Evan Harvey, I hear the Titans have a good quarterback. If the they wouldn't play the Red Dragons, but these teams that have an actual quarterback could give them a little bit of run for their money.
And that's very, very, very true. The Spartans, their defense they have a really good defense. They like to go deep a lot. I don't know if they're still going to be throwing a lot of deep balls if they still have the same receivers, but they're
do.
not scared to go over the top.
Well, and that's the thing. Their defense is greatly overshadowed because it's rare to see a true offense put a quarterback throwing 4 or 5 touchdowns a game.
Yes. And then we'll jump into the number one, Indianapolis
Unrivaled.
Tornadoes.
In this area, they're unrivaled, standing strong for years. When I graduated high school, a little background. When I graduated high school, I moved to Muncie, Indiana. I played on a team, or at least partly on a team, called the County Patriots. Tried to make it. I didn't end up playing very long, but even then, 07. God, I'm getting old. 07, the Tornadoes were still strong, running around.
Right.
Now, they are in one of the toughest leagues around. If you look in there, they play the Fire, I'm drawing blank, WPA Wildcats. So they're going to have their work cut out for them. But if all these teams were in a league, the Tornadoes would run away with it easily.
Oh, yes, for sure. The Tornadoes are strong on offense, defense. They'll score 60 points a game. They'll hit you in the mouth. I mean, just put it in perspective, they played a few years ago, the Kentucky Extreme, when the Extreme went all the way to I believe it was here, they went to the MLFA championship.
Yep, against the Toledo Thunder.
They got beat, I think it was 56-6 or something like that.
Yeah,
I was not expecting that at all.
Well, one thing, and they know how to do, and using Indianapolis, they use a big city to make the most out of their program. Anybody who watched the draft on ESPN will see that they had players who was the mock players, the guys that was in the all black with the faded out helmet. And I know it wasn't nothing spectacular. Nobody got drafted. But just to have your guys in that opportunity, that says a lot.
That was awesome.
One last thing. We're going to kind of go on a couple things here real quick. Is that your list? You think that would be?
Yeah. Yep.
So I wanted to touch on some predictions that I have. As far as I know, this week, the only games we have are BCFL. I just want to run through them real quick. We got Tanks at the Gladiators. I've spoken very highly of their quarterback, Job Swords. I think that's a 20-6 win. The Lightning at the Crusaders. I think this is the time to. Actually, I think the Crusaders may travel to the Lightning. If wherever it's at, the home team's going to win. In my opinion, it'll be maybe 12-6, 20-6. Gators. Who do the Gators play? I apologize. I got that wrong. I'm going to skip that one. Duke versus the Colonels. I got the Colonels. I like what they're producing over there.
Isn't the Saints versus the Gators this week?
Yes, I believe that is. Saints versus Gators. I got the Gators. I've not nothing against the Saints. I've just spoke so much of them. I say they're going 0-10. They got to start 0-1 to go 0-10, so I can't backtrack on that. And then the Comets win.
By default.
I don't know what they get. Is it 2-0?
We're going to go back. I'm going to backtrack here, and the Tornadoes actually beat the Extreme 48-24.
Make sure you get that right.
I'm getting that from Mr. Joe Elder.
Make sure you get that beat down right. Don't be wrong about the amount of 10 points they lost by, of the amount of touchdowns that was put on them. How dare you? All right, so that's our ranking. James, you got a little Sports Center action for us? A little NBA playoff recap?
Yeah, just a couple scores
of
recent or results, should I say. Houston takes it 4-1 over the Utah Jazz.
Sorry, Donovan Mitchell.
Cavs sweep the Raptors, second year in a row, 4-0. Boston up 3-1 over the 76ers. Actually, I believe their Game 5 is in progress right now.
Yeah, they are up 75-63. Do you want to take a minute to rub it in my face that I spoke so highly? Terry Moore, if you're listening, you'll enjoy this. I spoke so highly of Ben Simmons, and he goes out the next game and shows me that he's going to be the greatest player ever and puts up 1 point.
And also, you said Jason Witten is not going to retire. The
and
next day, he retires.
You know what? Get on here, Jason Witten. I'm not watching you on TV either.
And also, the last game, or the last series, Golden State 4-1 over the Pelicans. So it sets up Golden State and Houston, the Western Conference Finals, and the Cavs versus the winner of the Boston and 76ers series.
So I think it'll be Boston. I'm still sticking to Golden State.
I think it'll be Boston.
Boston. You know what? LeBron is playing out of his mind, is he not?
LeBron James.
Oh, my goodness. Here we go.
LeBron is arguably the best basketball player to ever play the game.
What do you think makes him so good? Let's go there.
Size.
Let's go, Stephen A. Smith.
His
why
size
so
and his ability.
And
he's Russell Westbrook in a 6'8", 260-pound frame.
What is it today? Nobody's getting old. I'm a Patriots fan. Tom Brady's 55. outplaying 18, 20-year-olds, like athletic-wise. LeBron James, I think for the first time in his whole career, played all 82 games.
Yeah, first time.
15th year in the season. In the league.
I also read something that said in 15 years, I think it was Magic Johnson, Kareem, like it was naming these other guys, Larry Bird, were all retired by year 15. And LeBron James is in his prime in his 15th year.
You know, I really want to say he's not in his prime, but he's in his prime. He's putting up crazy stuff.
Also, in other NFL news, after we spoke about him and mentioned him last week and how much he looked like D-Lo, Mark Ingram gets suspended indefinitely suspended for 4 games from the New Orleans Saints after violating the substance abuse policy. He appealed it, and the suspension still stands. And the Saints have said that they're not going to look to sign any running back to fill that void.
Why
for the beginning
would
of the
they
season.
got Alvin Kamara? Why would you?
Exactly.
Now, I will tell you, Ingram, Mark, listen to me. I'm talking to you. Cavs are looking for players.
I don't think he's listening. The Cavs are looking for a running. Well, that's about the one spot they're good at. Yeah, it's the one spot they're good at.
You know, to be honest with you, he could probably play any position in semi-pro. He could probably play right guard.
Coach,
And
kicker,
just do it all.
head official.
Got a little Kentucky Derby news for me.
In Kentucky Derby news that Matt cares so much
I
about.
cared not at all, but I knew Justify was going to
The
win.
favorite,
I told you
Justify,
that. Oh, come
wins.
on. Bob Baffert,
The 5-2
best ever.
favorite,
Go.
yeah, the best ever trainer or owner, one of the two
trainer.
or both.
So you said it's the wettest Derby
The
ever?
most rain for any Kentucky Derby, and it still brought out 120,000 people to watch it in the rain. I won on that race.
How much did you win?
$14.
Okay.
He was such a heavy
is
heavy favorite. It
he'll
only
be
paid out.
retiring.
He paid out $14, and I think I'm gonna go to Disney World.
I would. Hey, a very funny story I heard. Remember a couple years ago when the Yukon women was just tearing through everyone?
Yeah.
Vegas-
What season did they not do
Yeah,
that?
it was like 3 or 4 years ago. Vegas had the odds that if you bet on them to win the national championship and you bet $100, you would win $101. Shut it down, kids. Way to go out on a limb.
I'm not voting
So
there.
we're going
Or
to-
I'm not gambling.
We're going to
there.
wrap up the show with one of our newer segments we're starting called Crossfire. Basically,
I got
what
a
he's going to do
couple for
is
you.
he's going to give me, it looks like 3
It might be a couple
facts.
more. I might.
He's going to give me a couple facts, and I'm going to tell you how hot of a take that is. Basically, if it's scorching, that means it's absurd. The Cleveland Browns are going to win the Super Bowl. That's hot. If it's not hot at all, that's like saying New England Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl. It's pretty much common knowledge. What you got for me?
I got Bulldogs win the GDFL.
That's a nice Luke. Nah, that's pretty cold. That's pretty cold. That's facts.
That's
already
facts.
happening. I ain't saying.
All right,
that.
going back to last week, Indiana University basketball is in the NCAA tournament.
That's a nice lukewarm. Nothing too crazy there. I think it's a stretch, but I'll give it a lukewarm. Little 2 flames.
Justify goes on to win a Triple Crown.
I don't care about horse racing. I don't care at all. I don't know what that means. Triple crown?
That means
He's only got one head.
that
What's
means
that
he wins.
mean?
That means he wins the Preakness and the Belmonts. The next 2 races he'll be in.
So he wins.
So
with
it's Triple Crown. He wins
wins
all
those
3
2
of them.
races I don't care about. Actually, this has only been done like 5 times in history. 4 was all done in the 70s, and then I think a couple years ago they won.
For somebody that doesn't know much about it, you sure know a bunch about it.
I didn't say I didn't know about it. I said I didn't care about it. No, that's very hot. That's
All
probably
right.
the hottest thing you've said.
And the Dallas Cowboys win the NFC East.
That's a do not touch. It won't kill you, but it's going to burn you a little bit. I think the Eagles are set to let down. I don't trust the Redskins. Who else? The Giants. They said they want to win. Now they're not. So it's going to be tough, but it's not 5
And
flames.
last one, Thanos ultimately defeats the Avengers.
Not at all. Not at all. That's solid code. Anybody who knows, anybody who's seen the movie, they all die, snaps his fingers.
Whoa! Spoiler!
Spoiler alert. We don't have no spoiler
I
alert.
can't believe you
It's
just
been
did
out
that.
for a week.
I
If you
can't
haven't
believe
seen
you
it,
just said
if
that.
you haven't seen it yet, Spider-Man dies.
Black Panther
Black
dies.
Panther dies. They all
The
die.
whole Guardian of the Galaxy dies.
They're all dead. They're gone. Whiffed and waved. No, it's all gonna be undone because if you even care, if you pay attention.
Let's not say why. Let's not say
all
anything
these
else.
people are gonna be in other movies.
Oh yeah.
All right. One last thing I go, and then James gets to wrap up the show here. Anybody who's played semi-pro in this area, or played, especially we've been in talks about all the great teams.
I still can't believe you just did that spoiler alert.
You know what?
You didn't even announce it first. That's crazy.
I gotta really.
Have you seen the? He probably hasn't seen the movie yet either, and he's sitting here like, what's going on?
Then don't watch the show. But no, I'm trying to be serious. From my understanding, I'm not sure exactly what's going on. But anybody who's played in this area has either played for or played against one of the nicest coaches, but one of the greatest coaches around, Coach George McKnight. I hear he's not feeling too well. Like I said, I'm not sure on the details of what's going on.
You made some enemies. You made some enemies.
But if you can just take a moment from stop being mad at me and just say a prayer or whatever you believe, or just a moment of silence for Coach McKnight. He's helped us all. You know, I was a young coach.
Great coach. He drove an hour.
He will. He'll coach
to
to
practice.
Lexington. He lives in Lexington. He'll drive wherever he has to. If he coached for the Bulldogs, he did drive to Nashville, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I hope he's okay. I hope him the best, speedy recovery. I'm gonna let you take over because apparently I am now the hated one on the show.
Yep. Last thing going out. I've seen some comments today, or maybe yesterday, from Brian Mooser, and they were
right.
The comments were, I like Brian. He's a cool dude, and I like what he did. I like what he tried to do, and I seen a comment that said, I've done something that nobody around here has done before. And I want to know, like, my question to that was exactly what is it that you've done that nobody's done? You started a team, you ran a spring team, and ultimately, folded. I mean, that to me that is every team that's ever came around this area has started and folded. It made it a season and a couple practices, before the second season was supposed to start. So that was a question I wanted answered, like what, because when I feel like when you say that, it's taking a shot at like your Victor Coles and your the owner, I believe it was Kendrick Johnson at the Wolverines, and Raheem the Pythons, or anybody that's owned a team. I guess I took it as you were saying you did something that none of them could do. And when I looked at it, I was like, well, some of these guys did more than what you did, actually. So, I mean, this is not a shot, like I said. I like you. You're good. I want you to come back and start another Piranhas team. I really do. I was looking forward to the summer and coming out, but at least being a part of the team if I couldn't play because of work. But that was just a big question of mine was, what did you do that the Victor Coles and the Raheems and the Kendricks, and the Howard Gants, what did you do that these guys didn't do?
All right, that seems like, is that everything you got on that?
Yep.
All right, well, that was it for the first episode. We're going to go out on one quick note.